All right, what's up, YouTube? This is BoxingWave, and I just want to talk a little bit more about Josh Taylor and Regis Prograis before I move on to the other fights that happened this weekend. We had a lot of fights this weekend, okay? On the Zone, ESPN, Showtime, and this is a big fight week. We have Canelo against Kovalev this weekend as well. So, before I move on to Canelo and Kovalev, I try to push that off to tomorrow. I'll try to give you a thorough breakdown by tomorrow. Let's talk a little bit more about the fight from this weekend. Regis Prograis and Josh Taylor. Taylor is a new unified champion at 140. He is the World Boxing Super Series winner. You know, he won the Muhammad Ali trophy and everything. But we already have a unified champion at 140, Jose Ramirez, okay? And as much as a lot of us feel that the fight between the two best fighters was this past weekend, Regis Prograis and Josh Taylor, you cannot sleep on Jose Ramirez, okay? Completely different fighter from Regis Prograis and still very, very dangerous, okay? So we can't not completely forget about him. Now, he's coming off of a surgery. He beat Maurice Hooker earlier this year to become unified, all right? And he's had surgery, and the last time I checked, he's supposed to be fighting Victor Postol, who is his mandatory early in 2020, okay, like February, all right? So that's the last thing I've heard. I'm pretty sure that's probably still going to happen before we get another unification match between Josh Taylor and Jose Ramirez, all right? So Ramirez still have to have another fight before that fight. And I don't know if Josh Taylor is going to have another fight in between now and whenever he fights Jose Ramirez. There's a good chance he might, but I'm hoping by sometime in the summer, you know, before the summer is over, hopefully we can get an undisputed champion. Okay. Now I know a lot of you guys are thinking, Josh Taylor already beat Victor Postal. Okay, so if Victor Postal happened to beat Jose Ramirez, he would be unified. Okay, and then Josh Taylor would have to fight Victor Postal again. But we got to remember, Victor Postal was winning a good majority of that fight, at least in my eyes. I think at least up into the eighth round or so, I think Victor Postal was winning the fight. Okay, so even if he and I don't I personally want Jose Ramirez to win the fight because I just think it would be the Victor Posta fight was a great fight, but I just would like to see a different matchup. You know, I would like to see Jose Ramirez get his shot and becoming undisputed. So I personally would want Jose Ramirez to win, but you know, you never know. You never know because Victor Posta is still very good, especially on the outside. He's a really tall, rangy fighter, and Ramirez might possibly have trouble against Postol. I know Ramirez did beat Maurice Hooker, who is a taller, rangier fighter, but I don't think on the outside, I don't think Hooker. You can kind of pressure Hooker into a brawl, which is exactly what Ramirez did, and he won that fight. But Postal, on the other hand, he's a lot more craftier, a lot more technical from the outside than Maurice Hooker is. I think Maurice is more of a well-rounded fighter, whereas Postal is more of a better boxer on the outside with his lateral movement and his his long range and everything. So, but you cannot sleep on Jose Ramirez, and I know a lot of us, like I said, a lot of us feel that the best fighter at 140 was the winner of Prograis and Taylor, which was a very, very close fight. But you just can't sleep on Ramirez because I feel like Ramirez fights on the level of his competition. Okay, when he fought Emir Imam, when he fought Maurice Hooker, those fights he's had in between those fights, he didn't look so spectacular. Okay, but when he steps up, he brings a different level of aggression. Okay, and I think he's a better fighter when he fights when he's fight going up as far as opposition. So I think you can never sleep on Jose Ramirez. You know, in the way that he fights, Josh Taylor can't fight Ramirez like the same way he fought a Postol or Regis Prograis and stuff. This guy Ramirez is going to be in his face trying to pressure Josh Taylor. You know, Ramirez is going to be the one that's going to be the aggressor. Josh Taylor is going to be the one that's going to be doing a lot of lateral movement and trying to keep it a range of your fight. At times, yeah, Josh Taylor would probably step in, go to his body, and you know work fight an inside game. But for the most part, when you're fighting Jose Ramirez, you kind of want to keep it on the outside and try to box him on the outside because Ramirez comes in, throws big hooks, okay, throws combinations to the body up top, but he likes to be mid range, close range. On the outside, he more like to use his jab to try to get in on the inside and stuff. But Josh Taylor will be fighting a very, if they happen to fight, Josh Taylor would be having forced to fight a different fight than the way he fought Regis Prograis. You know, Prograis wants to keep it rangy. You know, he didn't want it to be a phone booth fight. Whereas Ramirez wants it to be a full phone booth fight. He wants to attack the body on the inside, you know, and drop those combinations to hooks to the body, hooks up top. He's a boxer puncher, you know, and he likes it to be phone booth, you know. So anyway, I think you just really can't sleep. You know, as much of a big fight this was, it was a great fight. Just like the Hooker and Ramirez fight was a great fight. All these fights been great. All the World Boxing Super Series fights, especially with Josh Taylor, because his fights were a lot more competitive. Baranchek was very competitive. Victor Postal was very competitive. All his fights was really a lot of his fights were very competitive as opposed to Regis Prograis. Regis Prograis kind of dominated up into the finals. Okay, that was his most competitive fight, you know. But you know, props to Josh Taylor. Congratulations to him again. Even though I was pulling for Regis Prograis to win that fight, I do like Josh. I still like Josh, and I still believe that he is the best. But you can't sleep. You can't sleep on Jose Ramirez. He does have power. All right, he does bring pressure. He's very aggressive, and you just can't sleep on him. All right, so I'm looking forward to what happens from here. We also had another fight at 140. Robert Easter moved up uh, to fight Adrian Granados, who moved back down from 147. I'll talk about that fight in a separate video because there's a lot I want to say about that fight. But great fight. And we're gonna move on from here. All right. Let me know what you guys. Oh, you know what? One thing I wanted to talk about before moving on. A couple of people left comments about welterweight. All right, how do I feel about the both of them moving up to welterweight and fighting guys like Terrence Crawford, Errol Spence, stuff like that. Welterweight is a different beast, you know, and this is what a lot of people say about Terrence Crawford. A lot of people want to see more from Crawford at welter, even though he's fought, uh, you know, a few fighters at welter. They want to see more, you know, especially the Spence fans, the PBC fans want to see more from Crawford at 147. But he had his few fights there. Josh Taylor, Regis Prograis. How do I see these guys? Or and even Ramirez. I don't know yet, you know, and even though Josh Taylor has, in my opinion, he has the best resume out at 140, I don't know yet. I don't know yet because the guys at 147 are very elite. You know, you got, just look at like Spence, Crawford, and Pacquiao. Most people, if not all, especially the major sites, have the three of them as pound for pound fighters. You know, we already know what Pacquiao has done throughout his career even as a welterweight alone. All right, going up there, beating Oscar, beating Ricky Hatton, beating Miguel Cotto. He went up there and dominated, fought guys and stopped guys even earlier than Floyd Mayweather did. You know, we already know what kind of work he's put in. Marquez, Tim Bradley, all of those guys. You know, he's been in there with a lot of fighters, and even at 40 years old, he was able to beat Keith Thurman. He was able to give Keith his first loss. This is a Keith that's beaten Danny Garcia, has beat Sean Porter. Okay, and Pacquiao was still able to do that. So you have those three. Then you still have Sean Porter. You still have Danny Garcia. These are really good elite fighters at 140. Okay, I mean 147. These guys have been at 140 and have done what Josh Taylor is doing. Maybe not all becoming undisputed, but they've done work at 140 before going to 147, and at 147 they've done a lot of work too. So it's really, really tough and too early for me to call what Josh Taylor could do. We know that he's a taller guy at 140, but these guys at 147 are not small guys, and they're great fighters, and a lot of them outside of Pacquiao are still in their prime, maybe a little bit past that. But the majority of them are still in their prime. So it's too early to call for me to see what Josh Taylor can do against these guys. I mean, even outside of those guys, you still have, Ugas who's out there, who's very dangerous too. It's really, really too early for me to call what Regis can do, what Josh Taylor can do. Okay, at one, and even Jose Ramirez. It's way too early for me to call. We had guys like Jesse Vargas who's gone up and who has struggled at 147. Jesse was a very good fighter. I don't believe Jesse wasn't unified at 140 when he was down there, but we've seen how he's been at 147. We've seen him get outboxed by Tim Bradley, even though he rallied at the end, the very, very end. It's very too early. It's really too early for me to call what he could do at 147, because 147 is full of the elites. 140 might be the most entertaining because all the best fighters are fighting the best fighters. But at 147, you have the top elite fighters, pound for pound fighters in this sport. And that's a different beast. Just to even touch top 5 or top 7 is very, very difficult. Because top 6, top 7 fighters at 147 can very well be the best fighter at 140 if they were to fight at 140 still. If Sean Porter could actually make weight and go back down to 140, he might very well be the best fighter at 140. This is what I'm saying. Sean Porter has lost to Kell Brook. He's lost to Keith Thurman. He's lost to Errol Spence. And he might really be the best at 140. He might be. I'm not saying he is, but he still might be. So it's just too close to call. I would have to see who becomes undisputed, and then we would have to see how they do when they first go up to 147 in order for me to say they are the best or anything or compare them to the very best. All right. So anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments, man. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.